Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Play, Pause, Rewind. It is our 131st episode. Niles, how you doing this week?
I'm fantastic. Hoping for no audio issues, but how are you, Dylan?
Oh, I am doing okay. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but
Yes.
we have big episode this week. I would say it's our 131st one. We are returning to a show we have reviewed many times for the final season. We are talking about season 5 of The Boys. Let's see. Let me get this doc over here. Based on the comics by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson, this is the television show adaptation created by Eric Kripke that continues and wraps up the story of Billy Butcher, Hughi Campbell, Annie January, and the rest of the titular group known as the Boys in their mission to bring down the sinister corporation Vought and the dark twist on Superman and Donald Trump, Homelander. Niles. Whoa, wait, the series. Sorry. The series stars Anthony Starr, Karl Urban, Jack Quaid, Erin Moriarty, Karen Fukuhara, Laz Alonso, Chase Crawford, Jensen Ackles, Capone, and many, many, many more. Niles, what are your initial non-spoiler thoughts on The Boys Season 5?
Man, I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased with season 5 of The Boys. This is I'm just satisfied with all the character resolutions. I'm satisfied with the direction they went in this season as well. I honestly do not get or understand most of the criticisms I've seen online about the final season. Because, I watched the show all the way through, love it. I think that there's so much witty satire. There's so much great stuff packed into this show. And there are maybe some missteps, I think, in this final season. We'll get to that in spoilers, but I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm in the minority here because I'm very pleased with how this season concluded the series. So it's kind of frustrating to see other people not having a very similar experience. So that's a little upsetting, but overall, like I said, I'm very happy with everything that transpired, all the events, all the character endings I think are terrific in my opinion, not just the core cast of Butcher, Huey, Kimiko, and Homelander and all that stuff, but also our side characters too. We've gotten to a lot of those side characters over the years, and I think the way that their stories wrap up is very satisfying. It's very poetic, and it's thematically appropriate for just about all of them. And as always, I think The Boys is one of the ripest, one of the most on point, and one of the most relevant political and social satires and commentaries like in our modern era right now. I think
in pop culture, at least.
Yeah, in pop culture,
yes. In the mainstream, the blockbuster stuff.
There's a lot of them. But yeah, definitely in pop culture. We are literally living in America. Dylan and I, we live in the US. And it is crazy to just every day we open up the news apps on our phone and it's like, oh gosh, another thing is going horribly wrong and our country is backsliding into authoritarianism, and it's terrifying to watch it happen in real time. And then it's also just terrifying to see how accurately The Boys depicts it, even with the satire spin on things. But it's really hard to wrap your head all around it, but they even predicted, something that Trump did, and then it was in the show literally a week later. It's like, oh my God, that's fucking wild.
Yeah.
What are some of your thoughts?
So I agree with you. I'm also, for the most part, very pleased with this season, and I find a lot of the main complaints that I've seen, at least, a little frustrating. And I think I want to touch on something you said where you feel sort of frustrated by a lot of people's other feelings. And I think I feel that as well, but in a couple different ways. One, I'm bummed that other people were not satisfied with the ending of the show. That sucks. That we have both been through that many times with many stories we're passionate about, and that sucks to see. But Another element of frustration that I'm having is a lot of complaints I see about the final season do boil down to the viewer in question has not paid attention to the show. They like the thing they're complaining about. It was explained very clearly, or it makes sense thematically, if not literally. And it's kind of like, okay, at that point, that complaint is on you. If you don't like something in a show, that's fine, but you should be able to like articulate why you don't like it while citing the show or movie correctly. And a lot of things I've seen against the season have not been accurate to the show. That being said, I will say I think you can feel while watching this season especially, but it was present last season a bit too, the show's budget I think has gone down over the years, and good chunks of this season are spent in Vought Tower or in that like abandoned elementary school. A lot of the show is in those two settings, and they did used to go outside more. They drove in cars more. They went to more places, like they traveled around the country. And a symptom of budget decreasing is you can't build as many sets. You have to work with what you have. But I'm ultimately satisfied with how the narrative wraps up and where most of the characters' journeys sort of end. Considering how many other recent stories in the last decade have not managed to make me feel like that. Game of Thrones, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, Stranger Things to an extent as well. Let's see, what else do we have? I don't know. Those are some big ones. I mean, Marvel too. Like post Endgame Marvel is really not sticking in the same way that older stuff did. Like I consider accomplishing this a win. You know, it's increasingly rare. But I think we have to examine too. There's a change in the way people talk about television, especially specifically on the internet, to where I think it's going to be harder and harder for shows to please audiences, right? Because there's so much speculation. There's such a cottage industry about picking apart every detail of marketing and, you know, any little hint within the lore that could point to something bigger, that you develop a pet theory, right? Like, and if it doesn't come to fruition, you may be a little bit disappointed. I think we saw this a lot in Stranger Things with it's like a subset of the fandom that wanted Mike and Will to be a couple or something. They picked up on, I guess, some like romantic undertones between the two, but also the text of the story pointed to like Mike and Eleven are a couple, in love with each other the entire time. So it's like I don't know. It's just one example, but there's so much fandom that exists outside of the show itself that it's become detached. You know what? It's like the stock market, actually.
That's a good way to phrase it.
The stock market, like the performance of a stock used to be tied to actual economic performance of a company, right? Based on what the company did in a given quarter, it would go up or it would go down. Now you have stocks that can fly up or down based on like the actions of Redditors or a tweet from Elon Musk. That is how disconnected fandom has become from the actual media of which they are fans. And I think that is a big part of not just the relationship with this show, but the relationship with a lot of shows and movies right now is people are in it for the fandom more than they are for the art.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Well, and I think like I was thinking about this a lot today, more in the context of like Star Wars rather than the Boys, but like it just feels like no matter what Disney does for like certain Star Wars products, they just can't please everybody. And it's like everybody's got an opinion, right? And that's kind of there's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, like now that like I don't want to blame the internet, but it is also the internet's fault because now everybody can just like top on Twitter and just be like, fucking Eric Kripke ruined the Boys, like he doesn't understand it. And it's like, yeah, you're entitled to your own opinion, but your opinion's a little wrong. But yeah, I don't know.
I think that is like an important nuance of the phrase, you're entitled to your own opinion. The second half of that sentence should be, but that doesn't mean you're right. sometimes there is
Yes.
something that is just true. But yeah, I think with the internet and the way things are discussed, it's like algorithms play a role as well, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the fandom in general is very broad for something like The Boys, something like Star Wars. There are going to be multiple different opinions, and sometimes the algorithm is going to elevate a specific opinion to the top. And so it will start to seem like, oh, everybody hates season 5 of The Boys. Everybody hates The Last Jedi. Everybody hates, I don't know, something else. But it's like not necessarily the case. It's just that's what's been pushed to the top. But
Sure.
moving on from that, like performances, I think consistent across the entire show.
Yes.
I don't really think there are that many examples of Flanderization in this show, you know, where people just become a caricature of themselves. It comes from The Simpsons. But
I'd agree with you. I think everyone's nuanced enough. Like everyone's got their quirks, you know, like Butcher with the oi, and Frenchie's always mon cure, but it's like that's just the way that they talk. I don't think that they'd evolve.
Yeah, I like maybe the closest would be like The Deep, but also that just kind of works. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna critique it. Like I think that's the joke with his character. I mean everybody's amazing in this, but Karl Urban as Billy Butcher and Anthony Starr as Homelander, I think are the peak performances. Like Anthony Starr brings so many layers to this like freak that he plays that it's just he's such a joy to watch on screen. And I'll agree with you too. The political elements remain on point. The criticism, I see the critique where the show was more interesting in the earlier seasons was its political critique because it was kind of like riffing on the war on terror, the Bush administration using false flag operations as a means to get soups into the military and all that stuff.
Right.
And then you also had the sort of critique of the performative wokeness of corporations, right? Like when they're obviously not genuine about the causes they're championing, but they're like using it as a marketing play. Like we saw a lot of this in the first Trump administration, right? Like the joke that was like, is BMW like woke? Is Raytheon my friend or something like that? Where like, remember all the corporations used to change their logos on Twitter to rainbow flags for Pride Month. Happy Pride, by the way. It's June. Happy Pride. They don't do that anymore because they never cared, because they were cynically using it as marketing, right? And I agree, like that type of political commentary I do find very engaging, but I also think the show did a good job of navigating from the critique of the Bush era through the Obama era and now into fully Trump 2 era, right? Like we as a political society have evolved over those years, and the show kind of kept pace with that. So I liked that. I also thought the prophetic moments, especially the Homelander, like a slight spoiler, but it was all over the internet, like Homelander thinking he's God thing, what felt very prophetic of Trump posting that AI generated picture of him dressed as Jesus, which he then claimed he thought was him as a doctor.
Anyone with dementia would think that.
But I think the element too that some people miss is that it's not that The Boys is prophetic about what Donald Trump will do. It's that Donald Trump is a bitch boy strongman, and all of them act the same. Like Trump is just a bit of a bitch, and he's a stereotype. Like he's a cartoonish clown, and he's pathetic. And pathetic clowns are predictable. They all do the same thing. They're all weak, sad, lonely little men, and when faced with any real consequence, they will crumble and whine, or in Hitler's case, kill themselves. But like, yeah, I will say too. Okay, go ahead. Respond.
No, I was just gonna say I totally agree with that. They will just crumble and they'll deflect and they'll whine and pout and complain, and that's what he's doing in Iran. That's what he does all the time.
Yeah. The one interesting omission from the political critique this season, especially this season, is America's weird and suicidal relationship with Israel. Right? Like, that seems like something that this show would feel very comfortable skewering. And there are a couple of reasons maybe they did not feel comfortable doing that. One, maybe Amazon wouldn't let them. Two, I have heard from people that Eric Kripke follows the IDF on Instagram. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if he's a Zionist. I'm not going to speculate on that. But three, also, Tomer Capone, who plays Frenchie, is Israeli and was in the IDF when he was younger. I want to talk about this briefly as part of a broader example, like, because when the season was kicking off, a 2016 interview with him from the Israeli outlet Ynet was resurfaced. A paragraph of it was resurfaced, and people said that he was bragging about kidnapping an 18-year-old girl from her family, a Palestinian girl, as part of his unit. I found the article. I went and I found the article. I read the whole thing. I'm not defending him or the IDF, especially. The IDF can suck my fucking dick. I hate them. They're a terrorist organization. Okay, just to be very clear where I stand. I read that interview with him, and what he was describing was how disturbing doing that as a young man was, and how it kind of fucked him up. I do not know where he stands on the genocide in Gaza or the slaughter in Lebanon or the unjust war with Iran. I do not know those things. He has not spoken up about them as far as I can see. You may critique him on his silence. I think that's fair. I did see an interview in 2024, June, I believe, where he was very critical of the American and Israeli leadership about, he didn't call it a genocide, obviously, in Gaza, but he was sort of making a plea. It's like, where are the leaders? Like, where's the leadership here? What is going on? So I'm not going to offer any defense. I don't know his politics, but I will say, like, that was 2 years ago. A lot of people who are anti-Zionist now, you weren't back then.
People can change. Like, opinions can change over time. And
and I think, on this note, as regular people, we have people in our own government across both parties who are very vocally in support of what Israel is doing. I think they should be the primary targets, not people who we have to dig through their social media profiles to think they may be one way or another. I don't know. People will be mad at me for saying that, but
right. But he's like an actor at the end of the day, and it's like, why are you going to, get mad at an actor having opinions when it's like he has no input on policy, or what the government is doing? Like, there's actual senators and
not having opinions, really. Critique his silence, if anything. Critique Gal Gadot for her role in Israeli propaganda. Like, I think that's fair. But, like, Donald Trump is funneling money to them. Joe Biden did the same. Chuck Schumer views his role in the American Senate as making the left more pro-Israel. Like, we have much more important targets than figuring out, like, who on social media or who in Hollywood may or may not be in support of this horrible cause. Like, their day will come. Right? If they support this, their day will come. Let's focus on the policymakers.
Exactly.
But
and like, I mean, in the show, I just don't think that. To your point, they probably didn't really feel like addressing it. I don't know. We can only speculate why it wasn't included, but at the same time, it's like you only have 8 episodes, and you have so much story to cover, so much plot. It's like, do we really want to try and shoehorn this in? But at the same time, they had like a few lines about Ukraine and the war over there. And it's like, okay, so it's not that hard to work it in. So
right. Yeah. Its omission is noticeable. There are reasons to speculate as to why. But I just, the reason I wanted to bring it up was the framing of that Ynet article, because like the pro-Palestinian movement, the truth is on our side. You don't have to be dishonest. All you have to do is quote an Israeli word for word to a normal person, and they will be like, what in the living fuck are they doing over there? Like, it's like I saw someone posting an AI image of Ben Gvir, the defense minister, like sticking his tongue out and taunting a bunch of Palestinian or the Freedom Flotilla people,
right,
or maybe it was Palestine, and that was an AI generated image. It was an AI generated image, but of a real event. And during that real event, like, Ben Gvir was taunting them and saying horrible things, and one of the latest flotilla people got raped by an Israeli soldier. Just talk about that. That's all you need to do. Don't leave us vulnerable to Israeli propaganda by sharing things that aren't real. Focus on the truth, because the truth, like the truth has to win in the end, right? Like, otherwise, what the fuck are we doing here? Sorry about that. Back to the show. I just wanted to. That really bothered me because it's unhelpful. It's dishonest and it's unhelpful. Like, be honest.
I get it. Yeah.
Back to the show though. Like, I think they did a solid job of bringing the story to a close. I had some qualms with it, which we'll discuss in spoilers, but overall, I was happy with where, like, Hughie and Annie and Butcher and MM and Frenchie, Kimiko, Homelander, all of them, I think they ended up in the place where they should, right? That's sort of all I got to say in non-spoilers. Any other non-spoiler thoughts from your end?
No, I think we got to dive into spoilers to get the full discussion going. So let's do it.
Want to start with a recap?
Yeah, I'll run us through a very, very high-level, brief recap of Season 5. So, after a daring escape from an internment camp, which they call freedom camp, actually, the boys work to strengthen and then test the soup virus. While it proves to be lethal against most superheroes, they realize that soups with V1, like Soldier Boy, are immune to the virus. So the team then pivots to try and find and destroy any remaining samples of V1, any vials anywhere, but unfortunately falls into the hands of Soldier Boy. He gives it to Homelander, who takes it and becomes immune and even stronger. Homelander founds a religion out of his desire to be praised, the Democratic Church of America, I think, which is actually, that felt like an apt name for it, all things considered. He has this desire to be praised and loved, so he founds that religion, and then he continues to expand his tyrannical reign over America as an authoritarian. He kills the president. He does all kinds of other just terrible things. Kills lots of innocent people. Fortunately, the boys figure out how to give Kimiko the ability to take away other soup's powers, like how Soldier Boy does, and they succeed in killing Homelander at the end of the day. And lots of other odds and ends happen in there too. Firecracker dies, the Deep dies, Black Noir dies. Like, there's lots of great little elements that are sprinkled throughout. But that's just a very high level recap.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to touch on from the start, and I think this feeds into some of the critiques of the season I've seen from people, is the boys remained truly a TV show to the end.
Definitely.
And I think that is where some of the frustrations stem from, because, like, last season ended with a pretty huge cliffhanger, right? Butcher kills Newman. Homelander is taking full control of the government and doing a purge at Vought. Several of the boys are captured by some of the Gen V characters, right? Kimiko talks for the first time in the show. Like, that's a pretty big status quo shift. And they resolve a lot of that in the first episode of the season. I can understand why that feels disappointing. But that's TV. Like, anyone who grew up on network or cable TV will be very familiar with that structure, right? You know, like the you know, we're going into summer, the season finale comes up, and there is a huge cliffhanger, right? And then the season comes back in the fall, and the first episode, maybe two, are kind of dealing with the fallout from that cliffhanger. and then it results in more or less a return to the status quo for the rest of the season until the next season finale, when they do it again in a different way. I like, and yes, that is a cheap gimmick of TV, right, to get people tuning in for next fall, but that's TV, and I think it's a little bit charming that in this era of streaming shows, which are constantly trying to be movies, The Boys, to its end, leans fully into the structure of TV. And we can even see this on an episodic level. Like, most episodes of The Boys have them doing something like an episodically contained adventure that feeds in to the main story. Like, you have the episode where they're looking for the V1, right? They go to that place for the V1. All the weird, like, dead things and the radiation are there. Homelander and Soldier Boy are there too. And then they finish that arc and they're somewhere else for the next episode. And it's just like, it's TV. And
it's TV.
Eric Kripke's writing roots are from TV. Like, he and Jensen Ackles and the other guy whose name I'm forgetting, but Supernatural, that's where they first worked together, right? So it makes sense that this show feels so much like a TV show. And I get it. It does feel like a de-escalation from the season 4 finale, but also it kind of felt right to me, you know?
Yeah, it felt right to me too, and I appreciate kind of this return to the format that we know and love about the Boys, where it's like, oh, the team comes together, they all kind of group up into these little teams, and then they go out on their little adventures and come back, and then they go out and they come back, and you know, I appreciate that dynamic. I can understand the frustration there among some people, because I think I was expecting something a little different, but also I'm not complaining. You know, I like the structure, and it feels like home. It feels kind of comfortable. But I get it.
Yeah. Do you want to touch on some of the common, like, critiques
Yes.
and frustrations? More the ones that we don't disagree with, I think. Let's start with those.
Yeah. Like, there are definitely some common critiques and frustrations that we've seen popping up online. I don't fully agree with all of them, but some of them I understand. Like, one issue that I keep seeing people complaining about is misleading marketing, and I can understand that to a point, right? You see the posters online, or just wherever, and you know, it's Homelander in orbit, just like watching nukes go off. And then another one's like Butcher walking through the ashes of a tower, or like Butcher walking along like it's just like that shot from the comics, like from the same comic panel where he's walking across the lawn of the White House, and all the suits are like in the air, and it's like that's directly pulled from the comics. And I understand those are a little misleading, and that didn't happen. Those events did not happen, but I'm okay with it because I think I would rather be misled by the marketing than have major plot points spoiled for me personally. You know, like, that's just how I feel.
And marketing, like, it's meant to be abstract in a way.
Yes.
For a TV show like this, or a movie, you know. Like, I don't think people expected, you know, all the floating heads posters of all those movies to have a scene where, like, everybody's heads next to each other. Like, it's just a vibe. It's giving you a vibe, an impression. And yeah, it doesn't go literal scorched earth, but this is like the biggest escalation that we've seen. Like, Homelander has, and I can agree with the critique. It's like, we don't, outside of the first freedom camp that they're in, like, we don't see a whole lot of that throughout America, but like, it is a big escalation, man. It's like they have concentration camps, and this psycho is controlling the entire government and the most powerful corporation in the country.
Oh yeah.
That's a big escalation. And think about, like, in our real world, right? Unless you're in the directly affected populations, you might not physically see the alligator Alcatrazes that we have in America right now, but they are there. It's a big escalation. It feels dangerous, right? Like,
oh yeah, it's terrifying. And Totally agree. And with marketing, it's not like it's false advertising where it's like, hey, if you smoke this cigarette, you're never going to get cancer. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's we're not marketing a product, we're marketing a show, like an experience,
Mm-hmm.
like something you watch,
Yeah.
and it's not making any promises, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just getting you interested, getting you hooked enough to be like, "Oh, it's coming. I
Mm-hmm.
better be there to watch it when it happens."
Right. Yeah.
So, but then, yeah, one of the other critiques I've seen online has been one about like, oh, this season just kind of feels stalled. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
going anywhere. Like it's slow. Nothing kind of really happens. Or they
Filler.
just, yeah, it's filler episodes. And it's like, have you watched a season of TV before, my dude? Come on. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's, you get used to it. That's what
Yeah.
happens. And I also feel like there is a lot of stuff that happens. Like if you're one of those people who agrees with those comments, I don't think that you really watched the show because there's a lot that
Mm-hmm.
does happen. Like there's an internment camp break. There's this feud between Black Noir and Deep that just gets worse and comes to a head. They
Mm-hmm.
test the virus on Teenage Kicks and Soldier Boy, and there's the whole Fort Hood storyline. They have this team up with Sage. You see some old people from the Vought's old days, like Bomb Sight,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a lot of stuff that happens. Even all there's like a whole plot line with Firecracker where she's just like having to basically like grapple internally with like this struggle of like, oh, I need to accept Homelander as my god, but also I was raised Christian and my
Mm-hmm.
hometown pastor is like, being accused of pedophilia and all this other stuff when I know that's not true, and people are desecrating the church, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like she's having this spiritual crisis, and that's a whole episode in and of itself. And so there's a lot that happens, and I think it's very emotionally powerful.
Yeah, I think so too. I also think like this I think the meat of this criticism or what they were trying to say is these
Mm-hmm.
would be great episodes in a 20 episode season, but they feel like filler now. Um
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of get that, and maybe it harkens back to maybe it's time to retire the 8 episode format of television. I'm kind of sick of it. I didn't mind it as much here because this, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
felt still like TV. But I, having watched the entire season, I feel like everything I needed wrapped up was wrapped up and done so in a relatively solid pace. Like most of the
Yeah.
characters didn't die until the last 2 episodes, but some of them did, and also plot progression doesn't equal character dying. So some people seem to think it does these days. They seem to think things happening and or stakes being generated is character dies because they misunderstood Game of Thrones. But that's not that's not what either of those things mean. And
Yeah.
I think this style of complaint, and it's not just for the boys, it's for a lot of things, but I think it comes down to viewers only engaging with stories on a plot level, not a
Yeah.
character or a thematic level, because like they're purely looking at it in a way of like, we got to get from point A to point B, and we need to have enough time to get from point A to point B, and they're not examining the more subtle sort of growths or relapses of character development within,
Yeah.
or how the dynamics have changed. Like I think a really great element of this season actually is Butcher and Huey's relationship. Like in in the
Yeah.
first couple seasons, right, Butcher is very much in control. Huey is kind of more meek, not cowardly ever. He's always very brave, but he's more cowardly, but he kind of like is second fiddle to Butcher in the team dynamic. And then
Yeah.
in season 3, they're sort of more on equal playing field and sort of like feeding on each other's toxicity, right? Season 4, Huey is kind of like sort of pushing back on Butcher a lot more than he used to. And in this season, I really love that scene where they're with the like shapeshifter guy,
Yeah.
and it's like they understand each other now. They
Mm-hmm.
like the shapeshifter, the mind reader, all of his powers, like he's trying to turn them against each other, but they both know everything about each other at this point, and they're playing him. And it's like That's great. That's great stuff. Like, it's a very
Oh, yeah.
organic evolution of those characters, and it has nothing to do with the fucking plot whatsoever. It's just they've been around each other enough to where they're at this place, and that was really rewarding. You also get that stuff about Hughie and Translucent Sun earlier in the season, right?
Yes.
Really, that's like really rich character stuff. Like, it's a plot beat from season 1 that Hughie did something. He killed this guy, then he finds out he has a son later on, and he's trying to, like, he's being selfish in the way that he's trying to reach out to what's his face and like connect with him, because he's trying to feel better and sort of do what he can to set this kid up on the right path. And you have Annie being there like, you got to stop, man. Like, it,
Yeah,
there's
there's
nothing you can do that will make this right. You just have to move on. But it reminded me, this criticism sort of reminded me of, I saw something online recently about someone talking about how they read so many books in a year because all they end up doing is they're just reading the dialogue. They view descriptions as boring or filler because they can get the plot from the dialogue. And that's not reading.
No,
So I think
no, that's not reading. That's reading a screenplay. Like, right?
It's not even reading a screenplay because screenplays have fucking descriptions too.
True.
It's
Yeah.
but it's I think people engage with film and television and books in that way now. Netflix talk about how they're prioritizing second screen viewing, right? Where they're like, they want you to be able to understand everything that's happening, even if you're like texting or scrolling through Instagram, which is why something that you could communicate visually, you often hear characters on Netflix shows specifically just saying exactly what they're doing or what they're thinking. That's why. And it's I think, I don't know if it's a chicken or egg situation. It's probably like the fault of both the audience and the writers and networks, streaming services, but it's like an intentional dumbing down from both sides of the media we consume in order to be the most surface level plot driven shit imaginable that can be digested by just hearing words said. And that's not how visual mediums work. There is more to them than that,
Yeah. Oh, there absolutely is. I hope we still have shows like The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and The Wire in the future, like good quality TV shows that you need to pay attention to and not always looking at your phone. One of the other things that I've seen online as a critique of this season has been kind of like disappointment in like the climax, like this final battle. And I can partially understand the critique a little bit, but I would argue that the violence and action within the boys is not as important as the characters and their stories, which is exactly what we've just been saying here. Is like, that's where the richness of this story comes from. It's not like, oh, Homelander killed that guy. It's like, no, it's the dynamic between Hughie and Annie, the dynamic between Hughie and Butcher and them, Homelander and Butcher. Like, it's these dynamics that make the show interesting. And I think that's kind of like the thing is like, people complain about like the power scaling. It's kind of tangential to this, I would say. And there is some validity to those critiques, because it's like, yes, you saw like, literally the episode before, I think it's like the 7th episode, like Homelander moves so quick. Like Frenchie like taps twice on a wall, and then Homelander just boom comes from across the entire room, and he's face to face with them. He's got like the super hearing and stuff. It's like, that's totally valid. And then in the Oval Office, it's like he's just struggling to even get off the ground and fly. Like, he's doing it very slowly and or whatever. And like, he's got the V1, but then like these two soups are able to kind of basically keep him on the ground, keep him pinned down long enough, and his lasers don't slice Kamiko in half like they did in the internment camp. And it's like, okay, yes, that's all fair criticism, but like, that's not the point of the show. The point of the show is the satire. It's the political commentary. It's the characters. It's the stories there. Like, Homelander needs to lose in the end, because we can't have a tyrant like him even have a chance of succeeding. He needs to die in that Oval Office in the end, you know?
Well, yeah, and it's just like, I had this note from later on in power scaling, but I think it fits here now. Like, I think, where did it go? I lost it. Oh, power. There we go. Like, power scaling. I understand from this point of view of generating stakes for a fight scene. I understand why having it be relatively consistent is somewhat important, but I think we have gotten to a point where it is way too important to too many viewers. Like, you need to deprioritize it a little bit, because, like, it ultimately exists in service of themes and story, character arcs. Like, Homelander, once they walked into the Oval Office, Homelander is dead. You should have known that 7 years ago.
Oh, yeah. That was coming.
There is no other way this story ends. Butcher kills Homelander. That was telegraphed from the fucking jump. And and this is the emotional culmination of that relationship. It's not about their physical capabilities. That doesn't really matter. Once Butcher walks into the room, Homelander is dead. And they chose to have Homelander be slower because it made for a more visually dynamic fight scene. They chose to make him fast enough to catch A-Train for the purposes of that scene. They chose to make him fast enough in the scene where he kills Frenchie because that benefit that scene. And I think, like, yes, from a lore perspective, it becomes inconsistent, and I can see how that'd be frustrating. But for the purposes of developing tension and strong character dynamics in each of those scenes, they work in all instances, so I will give it a pass. Like, I would rather the characters have rich moments with each other with some inconsistent power levels from Homelander than the other way around, you know?
Oh, 100%. And, like, you have a note here about, like, Butcher and Homelander flying through buildings like it's Man of Steel, and it's like, that's not what this... It's not Man of Steel, this is The Boys. This isn't DC, right. This isn't Marvel, this is The Boys. It's kind of realistic, it's satirical, it's honest, it's downright diabolical. If you're looking for a big, bombastic, punch-em-up climax, you know, where heroes are throwing each other through buildings and things like that to stop a tyrant, there's movies like that already exist. Go watch Man of Steel, go watch Endgame. Like, those movies exist. Like, the showdown here is more about the characters rather than, like, the action. And if you were paying that close attention to, like, the power scaling and those kinds of things, I beg you, please go outside and touch some grass. Like, do something that's, like, not so focused on the minutia, because, like, those details, it doesn't matter if Homelander can move, like, at the speed of light or not. Like, that's not the point. Like, it doesn't affect the plot, and you're focusing on the wrong things here.
And I guess, like, let's dig in a little bit too and examine the difference between, like, this moment and the ones where he is moving that fast earlier in the season. Like, what we know about Homelander as a character is he's routinely not challenged in terms of power level, right? So he doesn't really train. He doesn't try. Like, and you see him in season 4, you see him in, like, regular street clothes. He's just a normal looking guy. He's not super jacked or anything like that. He doesn't work out. He doesn't put in a lot of effort. And every time he is met with someone who can fight him, he panics. So, like, let's just say we had to explain the difference. Let's figure out why there might be a difference. When he's chasing A-Train in episode 1, he doesn't view A-Train as a threat. He's in control of the situation. When he zooms in to go find Frenchie, he's feeling no fear in that moment. He's in control of the situation. When Butcher first walks into the Oval Office, he's excited because he loves Butcher. He thinks they're, like, you know, oh, good, my rival's here. We're going to have another fun showdown. that I love having. And then he realizes he might lose. They have a way to bring him down, and he feels fear, and he's less effective. There we go. If you need an explanation, there it is. When he is actually threatened, he's less effective at fighting, and he tries to run away, and he's not great at it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I can think of someone else in a leadership position in our world who behaves in a very similar way when he realizes, oh, I'm not as powerful as I thought I was. Shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyways, I've also seen some critiques online. I think these are really just like the misguided fans of the world, like who wanted to see Homelander win in the end, and that's just a straight up no. Just no. We can't allow that. That's a stupid ending. If you wanted to see this, if you genuinely want to see that ending, you're a psychopath, and you may want to go to therapy and try and figure out why am I rooting for the villain, the authoritarian? What's like the why is that happening here? So I fully disagree with that comment or that critique. You know?
Yeah, I think there is a sister critique to that though, where people, they didn't want Homelander win, but they did want to see him go like scorched earth and do what he promised Annie he would do if she leaked the tape, where like burn down New York and like kill millions or whatever. And yeah, that would have been satisfying as well, I think, but that wasn't the show they ultimately decided to write. Like,
exactly.
I think the smaller moment of him ultimately revealing himself to be this weak, pathetic, sniveling little shit is much more in line with the character. I think he's always been written as an overconfident prick, and having him sort of like be in this situation thinking there's no threat to him until it's too late, and then there's nothing he can do, I think that is more fitting for his character. I think because like by the time they leak the flight footage from season 1, right?
Yeah.
He's on a different trajectory, and it's easier for him to just write it off as AI than to go kill a bunch of people. Like, he's in control of the White House at this point, and he's trying to, like, he thinks he's God. Like, why would he bother to do the rest of that stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like just a different kind of vibe. And yeah, I think with the scorched earth thing, like, that would have been cool to see. But again, yeah, I think going back to what we said early in the episode, what you said, it's like, oh yeah, it's probably just budget. You know, they just don't have enough budget to like show like, oh yeah, Homelander's flying and destroying New York. It's like, oh yeah, that does require some budget to do that. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, piggybacking
too. Oh,
go.
Sorry, before you say, but just like the about the people who wanted to see Homelander win or thought he was the hero, like, I think it is a little shocking how many people did genuinely identify with Homelander. Like, we talked about this last season or in season 3, but this is a show that's criticized for having the subtlety of a brick thrown through a window, and yet it's kind of the case with a lot of things. It's like, we want more nuanced, introspective media, but audiences do kind of like prove writers correct when they write at toddler levels sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I saw like a comment online that's like, oh yeah, the writers of this show, they did a really good job of like encapsulating like hardcore MAGA fans who are just like 100% in on the lie, the great grift, and they're like, he's gonna bring down gas prices, he's gonna make everything more affordable, everything's gonna go great for me, and then it's like, oh no, this isn't happening. But they're so far in at this point that they're like, well, I just gotta keep trusting him, and it's, I don't know, it is kind of scary in a way too, because
it's cold.
Yeah, I worry that there are many people out there who do sympathize with Homelander and don't see him fully as a villain. Like, They're like, oh, he like grew up in a lab, and if he only grew up with some love, like he would have been so different. It's like, yeah, that's true, but just because he had, this terrible upbringing doesn't excuse him for being a tyrant or an authoritarian, or all the
Hmm.
terrible shit that he did. And maybe we're speaking out of our ass here, and I hope we are, but I feel like I've seen a lot of posts online where people are like, idolizing Homelander or want him to win
Hmm.
or trying to build sympathy for him somehow, and it's just it's just I hate seeing those posts. I hate seeing people sympathize with this character. It makes me
Hmm.
worry because there's so many people that it feels like they're willfully ignorant of
Hmm.
of the authoritarian tendencies displayed by Homelander, and that means that those same people may act a very similar way when it comes to real life, and it involves real
Hmm.
authoritarians like Trump. So
Yeah, Trump and others.
yes,
But yeah,
many others.
yeah, and like there is a degree to which you can and should sympathize with where Homelander came from, right? Like he
Hmm.
was raised in a lab, he is a victim of abuse. All of those things are true, but also he's like a 40-year-old man. At that point, like
Right.
your choice, like the choices you do when you are the most powerful being on the planet are your own. It like you like he no one is controlling him anymore, and he's still doing it, you know?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, he's still acting horrifically,
mhm.
so it doesn't justify his actions, or it humanizes him a little bit. But then it's like, oh yeah, then you know, killed all those people on that airplane. How
Yeah,
about
or
that?
he let them die at least. I don't
Yeah,
know. Like
he let them
there's
die.
always a question of whether or not he could have even saved them. I think he probably could. Like
He's lazy. Yeah.
he's lazy. Yeah, he's lazy, but also he saw an opportunity with it, right? Like
Hmm.
he weaponized their death to get the agenda of soups in the military passed, right? You know.
Yeah, that's right. But enough talking about the critiques right now. Let's shift to some things that we liked about this season.
Hmm.
And first thing that I want to say is I love Terror. I love him so much. I wish that dog, Little Terror, was involved in the previous seasons. I don't know why he
Hmm.
wasn't, but I wish that dog was
Yeah.
around for more than just one season. He's such a fun little addition. He's so cute, and I just love
Yeah.
that he has this little Homelander doll that he just chews
Hmm.
up and humps on the regular, and he dreams about humping that toy
Yeah,
too.
he dreams about
It's so
fucking
good.
Homelander, which is so funny. Um,
I love
and
that.
like to correct you a little bit, he is around in I think all
Oh,
seasons
he
except
is.
season one. Yeah, he's just not. He doesn't stay with them. Like Butcher has someone watching over him until a certain point in the
Right.
show. I forget
Mm.
when. Um, but I don't think he's in season one, but I think he's in all the other seasons. But yeah, he's in the comic as well.
Yes.
If I understand it properly, he is killed in the comic by a soup, which is what pushes Butcher to do his final whatever he does in the comic. I
Hmm.
I think the way Terror goes in the show works really well for the
Yeah.
show version of Butcher. I've not read the comic. I'm not super familiar with it, but in the show, like they've defeated Homelander already. They're celebrating, but Ryan is like, "Dude, I don't want to be around you either. Like you're horrible."
Yeah.
And he leaves, and then it's after that point where like I think Butcher kind of realizes the rest of the boys are going to go their own separate ways. They don't really want to be around him either. Becca's dead, Ryan's leaving, and he goes in the room, and then Terror has died as well, and just of old age because I think he's like 14 or something. He's really
Yeah.
old, and I like that quieter moment where it's just fuck it, like whatever. I'm
Yeah.
done. But I
Well, yeah,
do.
I like that point. He's like, what else do I have left to lose? Like,
Mm-hmm,
I've got the virus. This was kind of the last thing on my to do
mm-hmm.
list. So, might as well go do it.
Yeah, I liked it. I was sad Terror died, but he was a very old
Yes.
dog. Um,
Great dog,
I
though. Great dog.
I I loved that shot in the Terror point of view sequence where you just get like Homelander like looking down and slapping his ass
Yeah.
like in Tara's little dreams.
I love it. It's so
very
funny.
Yeah. Another scene I really loved, actually, talking about the humanity of Homelander, is the scene of him and the Legend, when the Legend like leads him to the school a little bit, and they're just kind of talking. I always love when the Legend turns up in this show. I think he's a fun character, but he's just not scared of him. He's pretty sure he's gonna kill him. But he just kind of like treats him like a normal person, and he gives him the intel he needs, and then Homelander's like, just whatever, just go. Like it shows that even at this point for Homelander, there is still like there's like some little tiny bit of him that's still kind of normal, and like to sort of, I guess, push to aside something you said earlier. It's like, yeah, if things had been different for him, he may have gone in a different way. There was always the capacity to not be a complete shithead, and it shines through one time in this season, and it's this scene. I just think their conversation's really interesting, and
agreed.
Yeah, yeah,
it is a great conversation, and I really appreciated their time together on screen. And I think you could also pull away from it this idea that, even just a little bit of kindness, a little bit of sympathy can go a long way. It doesn't cost you anything to, be a friend for a little bit to someone who's not really your friend. Like, could save your life.
Yeah. And I think, to that note, like, something true about that and true about the season is just, you don't owe people that who have done you wrong, right? Like, the Legend is nice to Homelander, and it saves him. And him being nice to Homelander in that moment was probably the right thing to do. Billy Butcher does not owe Homelander that. Homelander raped his wife and sort of led to her death. Like, there's no reason Butcher should have sympathy for Homelander, right? But multiple things can be true at the same time. Just because you are not owed kindness by one person does not mean other people may not feel it upon themselves to give you kindness.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and while we're on the topic of the Legend, I just wanted to say really quickly that I liked the retirement home sequence as well. How it's like this aging community of like soups, and they all kind of still have their powers, but they're all really slow and kind of ineffective now. And they all, like, those characters that they were like talking to, they all worked on this show way back in the 70s, and it was just like so inappropriate, so racist, so xenophobic, just like so wrong in so many ways. But then it's like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, that always existed, I guess.
Yeah, like the one white guy who was like playing a Native American character. Right?
Yeah,
like his superhero persona was. Yeah, God.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's the one guy who like used his testicles like a slingshot thing.
That one was so absurd.
Yeah. I know people like, this is one thing, like, we didn't put a note on it, but I want to talk about it. The Boys is a bit of an edgelord show in tone, right? It's a bit edgy. Yeah. It's a bit like, what if a guy had an 8-foot long cock and he hit people with it? It's like, yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. And I think one thing, sort of in the same vein of how I talked about earlier, how I like that the show stuck to being a TV show. Yeah. I like how, like, when the show started, they were kind of like in the wake of the Snyder. Like, it started after Man of Steel, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
A few years, I think 2017 it started, actually. I could be wrong. It doesn't matter for the point of this. But, like, we were in sort of playing in a more cynical era of superhero media, I guess, then. Like, we were in the thick of the Snyderverse. MCU was not really doing that as much. But, like, there was a more like just an air of cynicism in that era, right?
Yeah.
And now I think as the real world has continued to get worse in substantial ways,
Yes.
there is a sort of a move back to more hopeful blockbuster cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the superhero medium with like Superman last year, right? That movie doesn't have an ounce of cynicism. It's very hopeful and happy, and the Boys could have tried to like adjust with the times and change its tone, and it didn't. It stayed with what it was from front to back, and I would argue that like the Boys is more hopeful than its tone and sort of crassness gives it credit for. Like, it is a group of normal people who will do anything it takes to take down these awful authoritarian freaks, right?
Yep.
Like, that's a very noble goal. And then even though a lot of the characters, like Butcher especially, are morally compromised, you still have at the center Hughie and Annie, who are like pretty much good to the core. You have MM, who's the same, Kimiko, and then you have A-Train's like redemption journey as well. And even the more morally like Frenchie has a horribly checkered and dark past, but he has this like soulful spirit too that brings out life in other people. Like, there is a lot of like hope in the face of like brutal darkness in this show that I really like, and I think is powerful in a way that the show doesn't get credit for.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, and I think we've been bouncing around it a little bit, but I think we should talk about the satirical commentary of it all, the elephant in the room, and you know, the satire of season 5, the commentary of season 5 is just as strong as it always has been. You know, like you said earlier, it does have the subtlety of a brick smashing through a window. It's very on the nose, but it's also terrifying this time around. It's very more present and in the forefront here, I think, in season 5. And it's, I think if you're paying attention to current events in the United States and you're watching this show at the same time, I think it's pretty easy to see the comparison and like what they are trying to say, like the real world equivalents, unless you are also just willfully ignorant. But, you know, Homelander at this point, he's gone full-blown authoritarian, right? He's got control of the government. He's imprisoning and killing anyone who even slightly disagrees with him. Like, even like the most minor things, like, oh, I liked the Starlight post 5 years ago. It's like, to the internment camp with you. And I think the real world comparison is very clear, incredibly clear. We talked about it just a little bit earlier with the alligator Alcatrazes. You know, ICE is rounding up immigrants, your neighbors, your innocent neighbors, and sending them to these camps that you have no idea where they are. That's just happening.
They're also killing civilians in the street. Let's not forget about that.
They are killing civilians in the street. Yes. Innocent civilians. Don't love that.
No.
And Homelander in this season is also breaking down these long-standing safeguards of American democracy. He's replacing staff of entire government agencies and departments with loyalists. And he's just kind of eroding the separation between church and state. And there's even a part in like the final episode, I think, where he's just like, disband Congress, just get rid of them. Like, we don't need the Congress, we don't need Senate, just get rid of them. And, you know, Trump, he hasn't gone all the way there with disbanding Congress, but he's done very similar things in America, where we've seen entire agencies, government departments, they've undergone dramatic changes in terms of like priorities, agendas, workforces, things are changing rapidly, and he's replacing people in those government roles with loyalists again, which not a great sign. And then we also have Homelander literally positioning himself as a prophet in this season. And then God, he thinks that he is God. He's so delusional at that point, and he even has this big golden statue of himself in his church. And then Trump, like probably a week or two before that episode came out, where he was like, "Oh, I had a vision," Trump, he posted this absurd AI image of himself depicting himself as Jesus, healing people. And then we've seen like a golden statue of him installed.
Yep.
I can't remember where, but it's like literally like the show is writing the current times that we're living in.
It's like, and to the like note about the march of authoritarianism, like, you just have to look at the contrast between Trump 1 and Trump 2, right? Like, Trump 1, obviously, like, the people in his administration were bad people. They were like far right freaks. But the difference is they were like somewhat competent at their jobs, like the basic functioning of the things they did. And when push came to shove, like, they didn't let him overthrow the government. Like, that's the bare minimum, but but like, compare that to the current administration. Let's say we have January 6th too. Like, everyone in that White House is gonna make sure that happens, like, successfully.
Oh yeah.
And that's why they are there. That's why he chose them. And I don't know. Maybe it's too, like, there's a slight chance that Elon Musk helped him, like, manipulate the results of the last election. I don't know. I don't like to get conspiracy brained, but Elon has alluded to something like that in private conversations, from what I've heard. Also, there's an Elon Musk parallel in this season. What happens to him is very funny.
Right, I forgot about that. That's such a good bit.
It's so good.
The aspiring astronaut.
He's like, "You said he's an astronaut. I took him to space." It's such a great...
Homelander flies this tech billionaire to orbit and then back in 3 seconds. It's like, oh my god.
And you notice too, like, he's wearing the, like, fuck ass dark MAGA hat that Elon wore in that scene. Oh god.
Yeah. What a loser.
I won't go on an Elon Musk tangent, but I just like, I hate him.
It's really hard for you not to.
It's really hard for me not to. I hate him so much. He's such a fucking loser. But
oh, I agree. We are on the same page too, and yeah. Well, Homelander,
it's complete corruption. It's insane.
Oh yeah, no, Homelander in this season is just, the corruption is spreading through all facets of the government. Ashley at like the start of the season, she lists off all the agencies they've like turned over, and like all the people they've put away, all like the revenge that Homelander's getting on people, and it's like, that's literally what Trump is doing right now. Like, I know that I know that the Justice Department walked it back and they're not going to do it anymore, but they had that slush fund of like 1.8 billion, and it was like, oh yeah, all the January 6ers could be eligible to get some money out of that. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? This is blatant corruption right now.
Yeah. It was described, I think it was Chuck Schumer who said it. I hate to hand it to Chuck Schumer. I hate to hand it to Chuck Schumer, but I think it was him who said, this is the most corrupt thing a president has ever done. And he's right. He's right. It's true. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's
just like, oh god, it's so bad. But
so,
shifting gears away from it, let's talk about Los Angeles.
Yeah, Los Angeles. I love the LA bit. I thought that was so funny how it's like, oh, we're gonna go to LA, and then it does like, it kicks like into like the Hollywood song, and like they have this like little quick montage of LA, and it's just like the homeless people on the streets, just like graffiti on the walls. It's like,
yeah,
Hollywood's so classy, and it's like, oh no, it's it's a little different than that. But I really did enjoy the LA bit, where it's this supernatural reunion episode with Mr. Marathon, and we have all these celebrity cameos. Yeah, I honestly loved this sequence. I thought it was just honestly hilarious to see Mr. Marathon, who's like, you know, an A-train equivalent, a speedster. He's just
Yeah.
like, is so out of practice with his like superpower ability that he's just like accidentally murdering celebrities left and right. Like he's smashing through
so
Will
funny.
Forte and Seth Rogen and
Seth
Kumail
Rogen.
Nanjiani and Craig Robinson. I thought that was such a funny fucking sequence.
It was so great. Like it, and you know, I was curious how the supernatural thing was gonna work, because I was like, I don't want to be distracted by a supernatural reunion in the final season of the Boys. Like, it's fine if the like main guys are here, that's fine, whatever. I didn't actually find it distracting. Maybe if I had watched more than like 30 minutes of Supernatural, there are more references that I didn't pick up on. The celebrities themselves were more distracting, but I was okay with it because it was funny, and I liked them like trying to use the political climate to, you know, get rid of their competition in their industry. And I loved like Soldier Boy making Marathon Man accidentally kill all of his friends. I thought that was darkly funny. But my favorite part of the whole sequence was when they like poison Homelander and they're trying to get Soldier Boy on their side, and he says something. It's like, nobody fucks my son but me. And then they're like, and then they're like, wait, what? And he's like, that came out wrong. Like Jensen Ackles in that sequence is so funny.
It's terrific. And they're like, oh, they want to ban abortion. He's like, yeah, that would be a big problem for me personally. Like, it's like, yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's funny.
I love that element where they're talking. It's like, dude, this sucks. Can we just go back to like fucking people? Like, come on, this God shit's awful.
Yeah, and then they like go into like the basement area or whatever, like the locked room, and it's just like, you have so much lube down here. What the hell is all this? Are you P. Diddy? What is this?
Oh yeah, it's awful.
Yeah,
I think
I thought that.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I thought it was. I was gonna agree with you that it was funny seeing like these celebrities, like they recognize the horrific reality of what's going on, right? Like people are being taken away to these camps, freedoms are being stripped, and things are kind of turning into like a thought police state in a way. But then they're like glad that their competition is disappearing. They're like ratting each other out, and they're also like trying to figure out like, well, what can we do to like combat authoritarianism? It's like, you know what if we all posted on our social media just black squares? Wouldn't that be a great idea? And it's like, oh, Black Lives Matter already did that. Okay, what color could we use? And it's like, that's not going to do anything, guys. These pathetic little attempts to change things through social media, just, they're not going to work.
Yeah, like in the broader scheme of things in the real world, like social media activity is beneficial to spreading awareness and showing solidarity. That is good. That is step one. You have to go beyond that at a certain point. If you don't, you're not doing anything. If you're
yeah, exactly. Like Seth Rogen's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get my friend to write an article in the Atlantic, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, and you can like, speaking out is important as well, obviously.
Yes, it is.
Speaking of Seth Rogen, actually, he's been pretty good about speaking out about Israel-Palestine stuff. It's like very important to have influential voices of people who are Jewish speaking out on that issue specifically. It sort of saws the sharpness out of the critiques or the false smears that like pro-Palestine people are anti-Semitic, when like prominent Jewish voices are like, no man, it's fascism over there, what the fuck. Like
yeah, right.
But I think talking about this sequence and Soldier Boy specifically, I do think there is a big part of this season where the season may work or not work for you based on how you feel about the character of Soldier Boy, because he is he's not one of the main characters, but he's as big in this season as he was in season 3. And if you find him fucking annoying, you're probably going to be frustrated with this season. If you find him funny, which I do, like he's such a horrible prick. He's so enjoyable to watch, in my opinion. I'm like, I enjoyed that stuff. But if you don't like Soldier Boy, you're not going to like the whole episode about the LA stuff because it's kind of about him.
Yeah, exactly. Like his history and yeah, I get that. Well, we do have some gripes. Our personal gripes. These are not like, us critiquing critiques of other people. These are our gripes right now. We're going to get in a little gripe session. I think the first thing that annoyed me a little bit this season was the use of the Gen V characters. I haven't watched the entire show, so that's on me. But I feel like the main characters, like Marie, did not have a lot of agency in this, or in season 5 of The Boys. Like, it was kind of hyped up. At the end, I understand the end of Gen V season 2, it's kind of hyped up of like, oh, they're going to join the resistance. They're going to be part of like the movement with Starlight and A-Train and stuff. And I just kind of wish that they had a little bit more agency and presence in the show, because ultimately it's like, okay, yeah, they're part of the team, but what are they doing? They're just really kind of moving innocent Americans out of the country to Canada, and that's kind of it. And I don't know, I just kind of wish if they were going to bring them into the show, give them a little bit more stuff to do. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I was honestly okay with how they were used. I wouldn't have minded seeing them a bit more and a bit more involved, but I'm glad they didn't end up being a big focal point of the season either. Like, the way I was thinking about it was just from like a practicality standpoint. Gen V is the spin-off show of The Boys. I'm not denigrating that show at all. I like that show a lot. I've watched both seasons. I'm bummed it got canceled, even though, I see how it could continue now after seeing the finale of The Boys more than I could before the season was done. But I like that show. I'm a fan of it. But realistically, the audience of The Boys is larger. It is the more mainstream property. So to have characters of your spin-off show, which does have a smaller audience, if you disagree with me, you're fucking wrong. It got canceled. The Boys didn't. Having them come in the final season, our last ride with this cast of characters we've been with for 7 years or something, a while.
Yeah, long time.
And having them like step into the spotlight, I think would have felt weird. Even for me, who has watched both shows, for people who've only watched The Boys, they would be like, what the fuck what's happening? Like, who are these people?
Yeah, sure.
So I never expected them to do a whole lot. I think like their involvement depended totally on the direction of the season. Like, if they were gonna go an all-out war arc, then they would have had more stuff to do on screen, and that would have been fine. But they didn't, either for budgetary reasons or because the story wanted to stay focused on the main central cast. And I think staying focused as a swan song for our main characters was the right move. After the finale aired, I saw so many complaints that Marie was not involved in the fight against Homelander, or was not the one to kill Homelander even. And to the latter point, if you thought she was going to kill Homelander, you're fucking insane. I'm sorry. I know the lore tells you, like, she's so powerful, her blood powers are like the only thing that can stop Homelander. Like we said already, Butcher was going to kill Homelander. That's how it was going to go. If there's no character-based reason for Marie to be the one to kill Homelander, there's a lore reason, but not a character one, and character's more important.
Agreed.
Whether or not she could be involved in the final thing, whatever, like, sure. But I was fine with, like, she and her team are doing their little part, and then you get to have, like, a nice mirror of Annie and Maeve with Annie and Marie, and Annie trying to, like, be a little bit better than Maeve was to her, with Marie, who is someone who looks up to her. I thought that was a nice dynamic. We only see a couple of the Gen V characters, too. Like, some of them are just not there, which is fine. I was fine with it. I don't know. It's not Gen V season 3. It's the ending of The Boys. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, exactly. And they definitely had like some plan for season 3, and then they got canceled. So it's like, yeah, this wasn't their story. Because yeah, you're right. It's a spinoff. So I'm not in love with it, but yeah, it's like if you're gonna include them, I kind of just wish they had a little bit more to do.
But also, before we move on,
yes,
this is the peril of cinematic universes.
Yep.
We can see it in Marvel too, or all these shared universes where like someone may gravitate more towards a specific character that you as the writer do not see as the main focal point of this project, and then they go in and they're like, well, why didn't Star-Lord have a bigger part in Endgame? Like, well, he was dead, but
yeah, it's like,
or wait, no, he wasn't.
Yeah,
dead.
I get your point.
Or he was, yeah. Yeah, it's like the bigger you go, the bigger you have to stay, because everybody's expecting their favorite to get a moment in the spotlight, and that's not really conducive to like tight storytelling, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Well, and speaking of tight storytelling, Soldier Boy, just circling back to him, his ending in season 5 here, I think a lot of people, I was kind of expecting like a climactic showdown between him and Homelander. Certainly Sister Sage was, but it didn't happen that way. Instead, Soldier Boy just gets put back on ice, and he's just out of the story, but still alive, but he's asleep basically indefinitely. And it's not a huge deal for me, but I kind of just wish there was a better resolution for this character, especially since we know that Mother's Milk, he has this very personal beef with Soldier Boy because Soldier Boy killed his family. And so, like, it would have been nice for to kind of get some closure there. But at the same time, like, it's not the end of the world because they ultimately completed their core objective, I would say, which is, killing Homelander and saving the U.S.
Yeah, I kind of agree with this. It feels a little anticlimactic what happens to him, but also I think it works for Homelander's story in that even his father, who chooses to do something very kind, I guess, to him, after that is like, yeah, man, I'm gonna fuck off to Bogota forever. Like, I don't like you. I don't want to be around. And then the only way Homelander can get him to not leave is to sedate him again. So I guess like it doesn't work for me for Soldier Boy or for but it does work for me for Homelander, if that makes sense. So it's like Soldier Boy is a part of Homelander's story this season. This works for his ending. But yeah, I don't know.
I get what you mean. I think another critique that you and I share, but I'm glad you wrote it down, is this dismantling of Vought at the end, because after Homelander dies, then it just kind of reverts to the status quo in a way. Stan Edgar becomes the CEO of Vought again. And superheroes are still a thing. Butcher didn't release the virus at the end. So superheroes still exist. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would have liked to see more of a thorough dismantling of Vought by the end. Like, the show over the course of its run does shift in focus from taking down this sort of insurmountable foe of a corporation ingrained with the military-industrial complex towards defeating Homelander specifically. The reason for this could be just easier continuity for the broader franchise, I suppose, which is disappointing for me because I always hate when franchise longevity is elevated above story in terms of importance for the storytelling. Like, I'm not sure. I also saw a take online that could be, because, we've asked over the years, and many people have asked, it's like, this is a show with a pretty solid anti-capitalist critique of like American corporate culture and the cynicism of it all, and how it like is buddy with our military and our government.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the question was always like, why did Amazon let them make this? And the take I saw online was like, this is why Amazon let them make it, because in the end the corporation is presented as eternal and undefeatable, but the individual can be beaten. And that is pretty sinister to me. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I will say though, on the endings of the individual characters, like for the main people we follow, those work for me. Those like where, and we'll talk about them all specifically in a moment, but like I like how their story ends. I just wish there was more of a victory against Vought and America.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's against both because they're intertwined, you know.
Yeah, I agree 100% because Homelander was obviously an issue, but he was more of like a complication caused by a bigger illness, a bigger plague in the U.S., which was Vought. Corporations are the real problem, and I think that you could even extrapolate things even a little further and be like, oh, this is, you know, they shifted the focus away from Vought to more beyond Homelander, and it's like, yeah, you can get rid of the individual, but the corporation lasts, and the corporation is the real problem here. Vought is the real problem because they caused it, they propagated it, they proliferated it, and they're continuing to do it. And I feel like that is kind of what happens in America sometimes, where it's just like, oh no, it wasn't the company's fault. It was that guy over there who's the CEO, but he's out now, or you know, we fired him, so the problem's solved. Our corporation's fine. Don't pay attention to what's happening over there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can see. I mean, I'll give two perfect examples of this. One, the sort of source material for Homelander, Donald Trump. We in 2020, we America, we defeated Donald Trump in an election. We voted him out of office. People posted the little Ewok celebration video all over the internet. We were so happy. We won. And well, here we are. He's back again. And like, because Trump himself, while awful and a pedophile, is a symptom of the problems of the system. He is not the problems. He is a result of the problems, just like Homelander is a result of Vought. Another fun example, just for trivia's sake, in 1997, the, at that time at least, greatest case of Medicare fraud in American history happened, causing the pharmaceutical company in question to have to settle for $1.7 billion. The CEO was fired. He had to step down. And his name was Rick Scott, and he's now one of the senators for Florida in the U.S. Senate.
Fuck. Come on.
So, defeating individuals is not enough. You have to defeat the system for victory to last. Until you do that,
true.
You know, and it's like, you know, let's go bigger. Let's go bigger for a second.
Yeah.
We won World War II, right? We defeated the Nazis. Hitler offed himself. We occupied West Germany. The Soviets had East Germany. What happened next, though? Operation Paperclip. The U.S. government recruited a fuckload of Nazi scientists into the American government, including Wernher von Braun, who headed up the NASA space program. And fascism endured because individuals are not the problem. The system is the problem. The system creates the individuals that perpetuate the problems. We have to beat the system.
And that is the insurmountable task set before all of us. Do you have any other gripes before we transition to characters?
Yes, I do. Where did I put it? I thought I put it in here. Maybe I didn't write it down. I will say This ties into season 4, but I think this is the point of Vought being de-emphasized in the final season. I think killing off Victoria Newman last season was a mistake.
Oh,
I think her absence was very much felt in season 5. I think she presented a very interesting foil to both Hughie and the team and Homelander, and her like interesting angle with her ties with Stan Edgar and her being a soup and her kind of like being represented as an AOC type, but also she's a stand-in for other politicians as well in the comic, I guess. I don't know. But like her absence was very felt to me, and they don't do anything interesting with that absence, in my opinion. Like her husband is making the virus for them for a little bit, and then when he finds out they killed her, he leaves. Okay, fair. Her daughter's around, but Stan Edgar doesn't really treat them any differently because of it. And I don't know. Her loss was felt more than the absence provided, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So
I see what you mean. I didn't feel that as much, but yeah, that's a fair critique, I would say.
Also, Stan Edgar is barely in this season, which is interesting.
Yeah, he's there, and he has some good lines. Like he has a really interesting conversation with Eminem. They're smoking cigars, and he's like, "Yeah, you know, even if you defeat Homelander, the corporation's still gonna exist. Like I'm gonna become the CEO, supply and demand." And he has like an interesting exchange with Homelander too. So he's still sharp, but yeah, he's not as prevalent.
But it is disappointing that he's proven correct at the end of the season. So what are we supposed to take from that, I guess, is the question.
I think the takeaway is just that, like we were just saying, it's not individuals, it's the system. Corporations are not people, but they act like it, and they fuck over so many people so consistently. Corporations are evil. Most corporations. I will say.
Capitalism is evil.
Yes, capitalism is the ultimate evil. We came back to it. This is always the main talking point on this podcast. Capitalism is the main evil.
You thought you could get away, but you can't.
We said it last episode, and we said it the episode before. All the way back. But why don't we talk about something that's fun, kind of close out the episode, talking about the characters and their endings, how everything wrapped up. Because I'm very satisfied with all these endings. I think they're very great, and I think they're incredibly fitting. I will kick things off with Black Noir 2. That guy died like a bitch with his feud with the Deep. I thought I liked this ending to the character. I also liked the interactions he had with the Deep the whole season. He's like obviously very interested in acting, and you know he wants to be in this theater production.
With the former
I thought that was charming.
Too.
Yeah, with that director character guy.
Yeah, who's like I guess like a combination of Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder, I suppose. Yeah, like that's what he's supposed to be. But I love that he like I guess gets fired from Vought because and then he's directing. I thought their stuff was so funny and weird.
Yeah, he's just like, oh yeah, you know, it's just like the highest grossing film of all time, but who's counting? Anyways, he moves on to like he can't help himself. But yeah, the dynamic between Black Noir 2 and the Deep is definitely a little different this season. But I like it. I think it was great, and I like the way that Black Noir 2 dies in this. Like I kind of seen some critiques about it online, but I'd argue it's kind of the perfect ending for him because. First off, I think Noir's general vibe, his appearance, his lack of dialogue, it just kind of exudes aura, I guess, for lack of a better word, you know, kind of badassery. And also, I think that this death mirrors the death of the first Noir in a very poetic and thematically appropriate way. The first Noir died, or was killed by the only person with whom he truly had like a good relationship with, like his bro, like him and Homelander I think that they understood each other pretty well, but he
Okay.
also kind of died like a little bitch. And when you have so much aura, you kind of expect, oh, it's gonna be this badass fight, no one can beat him, and then it's like, no, he just gets stabbed through the guts by his best friend, ultimately. And then the second Noir dies in a very similar way. He's killed by his perceived bro, and he dies in a very pathetic way. And I just really like that. I think The Boys has always done a very good job with realism and kind of showing that the life is anticlimactic, right? You'd expect Noir to be unmatched in his killing prowess and have this big, crazy battle, but it's like, that just doesn't. That's not how it happens, man. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because like this Noir, like the first Noir is the assassin who's a badass. This Noir is just an actor. Like he doesn't know how to do any of that. He's just there to like pretend to be the first Noir, which I think is very funny. Also, I found this out online. I haven't verified it, but I think it's true. The guy who plays Noir 2 has been the guy under the mask the entire time. They just cast a different actor for the flashbacks of Noir 1, which I think is fun. One thing, too, that I liked about this season was that Black Noir and The Deep have, like, a Manosphere podcast together. So they're just riffing off of, like, the whole Manosphere loser sphere. If you haven't watched the Louis Theroux documentary Into the Manosphere, I'd recommend it. It's pretty interesting. A good look into the small minds of those men. But
that podcast must be so boring and stupid.
Oh, there are so many of them though. They're like,
oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, there's nothing interesting about these guys. They just like wear way too tight suits, drive fancy cars, and do pyramid schemes.
Yeah, exactly. They drive cyber trucks, which I love that detail. They're going to like this place. They're driving a cyber truck, and like it's just keep rolling, and it's like just the douchiest fucking vehicle to drive. Fucking A.
Oh yeah.
But The Deep has, it's his patheticness sinks to new lows in this season, which I didn't think was possible, but he becomes alienated by all aquatic life and gets torn apart by them eventually. But he's always been like this slimy sleazeball. He's never been likable or kind or a good person. And, he just sucks up to Homelander. That's like his whole thing. He's just trying to suck up and kind of maintain his position, like some kind of power, some control over his life. But, he has this ability to talk to and control aquatic life. And it's so fitting that he becomes the most hated and reviled thing among all aquatic life. Like it's not like he's drowning, like, and that's how he dies. It's like, no, the things that he can command and talk to hate him now, and he betrayed them for a little like stability and mobility with Homelander that ultimately amounted to nothing. It's just so great, such a great ending for him.
It's perfect. It's perfect. I love it so much. Like because they want to build a fucking pipeline, an oil pipeline, and they make him be the spokesperson for it to say it's safe for the fish and the fish will like it or something. And then Noir 2, to get revenge, destroys the pipeline. I love the scene where the fish is dying and he's like, "We know it was you, Kevin."
That's so good.
and then the hammerhead shark shows up and it's Samuel Jackson. And
so great.
Yeah, I love that they continue to commit towards just no redemption for the Deep. He remains a pathetic irritant until the very end. And his death, like this has been discussed ad nauseum on the internet, but his death is so funny when you consider it from Annie's perspective, because she's a good person, like despite everything he's done for her, she knows he's afraid of Homelander, and she's trying to flip him like she flipped A-Train. So she flies him out of there and takes him to somewhere where she thinks he'll be comfortable. The ocean. It's his whole thing. And then just to like get him to chill out for a second, she blasts him into the water, and then the fish and eels and stuff just rip him apart, and she's like, what?
And then, oh my god.
and then she will never get an explanation for that because she can't talk to fish. She'll never know. She just saw that happen.
No one knows.
and I love he's so weak because she has the line and she's just like, look, I did not do anything to you. You did all that. Just take some responsibility for yourself. And the way he responds is so funny. He just like makes a little pouty face and just screams, no.
It's not my fault. No, I'm not taking responsibility.
It's so funny. It's the perfect way for him to go out. And I think Erin Moriarty talked about how like she wanted one specific thing and she got it in this season. And I think like her being involved in the Deep's death is probably what she requested because it makes total sense. You know, he sexually assaults her in the first episode and she puts up with his bullshit for years and finally gets to like have a hand in his undoing. It's perfect.
It's wonderful. I love it so much. And on the flip side there, A-Train, you know, where the Deep did not have a redemption arc, A-Train did. Like, he actually took a stand against Homelander and redeemed himself, and it's such a incredible arc over the entire course of the show, not just season 5, but I think it's so poetic, so well done, well executed, because he starts the series. It's like literally the first scene, he runs through Robin, killing her instantly, and he just kind of positions himself from the start as like this self-absorbed, drug-addicted asshole who's like in way too deep, and he thinks of himself as a hero, but like it's all just marketing, and like he's very dissatisfied with himself, but he's like he really struggles with it and like trying to come to terms with like his identity and what he can do in the world.
Africa.
That whole rebrand. Oh god. Season 3. What a journey.
Yeah.
But then he ends like he's killed in the first episode of season 5 after he's saving innocent lives, right? Like he literally has this intention, like as he's running away from Homelander, like he sees someone in the middle of the road and he makes great effort to not hit them and kill them like he did with Robin. So he saves that person's life, but it ends up costing him his, and he's just fully redeemed. He's fully redeemed by the end there.
Yeah, I think this is like a really well done redemption arc. It's slow. You see him really, I think, earn it over the years. His dynamic with Hughie, especially, I think, was really interesting as that developed, and you get to see him eventually like be genuinely sorry for what he did to Hughie, even though it was like an accident. But and like it culminates with him choosing to, you know, like he knows if he dodges that girl that Homelander is going to catch him and kill him. Like he knows that and chooses to do it anyway. It's a perfect culmination, and he telegraphs the end of the season. He's just like, I think he even says like almost word for word, it's like, without your powers, you're just like a weak, like little crybaby. Like you're nothing without the powers. And it's and you get this one more scene with him and his brother, which I think like you're watching that scene, you're like, oh, he's done for. It's over for him. But he gets like that moment where his brother finally tells him like, I'm proud of you, man. Like you're doing good stuff. And having watched their dynamic over the whole show, that's where he wanted to be, right? He finally has his brother. It's like pure and full approval. Yeah. And then he does die a hero. He saves them all and stands up to Homelander.
Love it. Such a great ending for the character. There's a character introduced this season named O-Father, and he gets killed off by the end as well. Gets his head exploded, kind of in a similar manner to Black Bolt in the Multiverse of Madness, except this is more brutal and graphic. His whole head explodes, but it's very similar. And I thought he was a great addition this season. I don't have a ton of thoughts on him, but I think yeah, solid character, lots of passion and emotion in there.
Yeah, he was a fun addition, and honestly, one of the highlights of the season. I love the idea of this televangelist soup who uses his like boisterous voice to preach gospel, and then eventually lead people into this like weird new thing. I enjoyed him. I thought the performance for him was awesome. I also love like the implication that the ball gag kills him. So if he and Ashley had used it, like it may have killed him there too.
Yeah, it may have.
Like,
It may have fucked him over either way.
Death by pegging for Oh Father.
Oh. Well, and Ashley
Mm-hmm.
is also in this season with Bashley, her backhead. She's got this cool superpower now where she's kind of able to read people's minds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy with her ending too. She does one heroic thing at the end that ultimately saves the day by getting the boys into the White House. But then she loses the presidency, obviously. But she's always been kind of just worming her way up the ladder all the way to the presidency. And then she finally grows a bit of a spine there finally at the end.
Yeah, I thought that was such a great cut where she's at the podium and it's like, I just want to make it clear that I did nothing wrong and I'll be staying as president. Hard cut to like after unanimous vote in Congress, she's been impeached.
So funny. I love that bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love her back and forth with Bashley. Is that what she's called? The back of the head one. Like where the back of the head one is really the one with the superpowers and is kind of her, her moral conscience, pushing her to be a better person. And she's always kind of like teetered on that edge of potentially doing the right thing. In season 3, she deletes the footage of Maeve getting away so Maeve can, go into hiding. She always like has doubts. She isn't a great person. She did like sexually assault Hughie last season when he was in the gimp suit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but this is a good ending for her, I think. She does one good thing, but it's not enough, and she doesn't get to, get away scot-free. I think that's an appropriate ending for this character.
Agreed. And we also have Sister Sage. She loses her powers and becomes another stupid person. And then she fucks off to Disneyland or wherever the fuck she was going. And I'm ultimately fine with the ending for her. She caused a lot of trouble, a lot of pain for a lot of people, but she ultimately helped save the day. So I'm okay with how things landed for her, and it is kind of a funny arc for her to just be like, I'm just like you guys. I can't quote Othello anymore, word for word. Like, this is totally different for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I was fine with her. I think, like, they got in a tough spot with where they were taking her because she ultimately had this, like, grander master plan than even Homelander, and she's not the main antagonist. So they kind of had to find a way to sort of have her pivot in the season. I think it worked in the sense that her, like, weird relationship with love was her blind spot because in season 2 of Gen V, she has, like, a love story with this character, and it, I guess, like, messed her up a little bit, and the reason she couldn't account for Soldier Boy giving Homelander the Gen V is because of his love for Clara / Stormfront, and also, I guess, in a way, his love for his son, and even though he doesn't like him, and so I think, like, her inability to reckon with any point of view on love just kind of made her view her own intelligence as less useful than she initially wanted, and then she just wants to be stupid and go to Disney World, and fuck it, whatever. I'm fine with that.
I'm cool with it overall. Yeah, and of course, Homelander has a good ending here too because he loses his powers. He gets humiliated on a global scale. He demonstrates how much of a like sniveling little crybaby he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets his skull cracked open by Butcher, and I love it. I think it's a great ending for Homelander.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of me that would have loved to see Homelander put on trial for like crimes against humanity,
Mm-hmm.
and having to just deal with like months and months of like intense public shame and hatred towards him. I think that would have been great, but at the same time, that would be too much. And like, I'm happy with the ending we got here. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
just deserves to die at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would have loved that too, but I think it was too late in the show for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said I made a prediction in our season 3 episode where I said I would have loved for season 4 to end with him losing his powers, and
Mm-hmm.
all of season 5 is him being a normal person, forced to be normal, and being forced by the government, like via the boys, CIA, Newman, whoever, to testify against Vought as a prisoner. But obviously, they went a different
Mm-hmm.
direction than that. Because they, as we talked about, kind of de-emphasized taking down Vought in favor of taking down Homelander. But also, I'm glad they killed him because it was. I loved his final moments of weakness. Him
Mm-hmm.
like when the moment, Star's acting when in the moment when he realizes he's done for, and he just reverts back to this like childlike fear, and then he starts begging after that. But he's never bothered to learn how to fight, so he can't do anything against Butcher's attacks, and he's just so vulnerable and weak and pathetic. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they killed him too, because now we don't have to deal with all the fan theories about how, what if he gets another dose of Compound V and then we get a sequel series where he gets his revenge.
Mm-hmm.
I would die if I had to hear about that. So I'm
Yeah,
happy
right.
that they ended him. Like,
Right, or like he doesn't have his powers, but he could like go on into a career in politics or something, and it's like,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to see that either. That's a
Yeah.
terrible idea. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need him anymore. The character's done.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with how pathetic he looked at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But moving on to our protagonists a little bit, I honestly think I was happy with where all of them ended up. I think. What about
Yes.
you?
Yeah, I'm very happy
Yeah.
with all of it too. Like I think Frenchie is the one that like I'm very sad on that Frenchie
Mm-hmm.
died in this final season. He was, I think, my favorite character out of the core boys group. But, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I think his death made the most sense aside from Butcher, ultimately. But yeah, I'm very happy with everything there. MM gets to reconnect with his family, and he adopts Ryan, which is kind of a nice note,
Mm-hmm.
a nice way to move forward uh, with everything there. And, Huey and Starlight are pregnant. They open an electronics store and she still fights crime on the side. I think that's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Kimiko travels the world, just like she kind of promised to Frenchie. Um, I think it's all lovely, and Butcher gets his revenge. And he was
Mm-hmm.
on the verge of committing genocide, but Huey kind of pulled him back enough for him to be like, no, I'm not. He doesn't do it. Even without the bullets, he wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, and with MM, like kind of adopting Ryan, that calls back to earlier in the show. I believe like Butcher actually asks MM to adopt Ryan because he knows he's not
Mm,
fit to raise a child. So it's a nice ending for Ryan to end up with them. How that happened specifically, I don't know, but like he's still a kid, right? It's probably beneficial to have some stability in your
yeah,
life
yeah.
in that era. Um,
Does seem like it. Yeah, I honestly forgot about that. So I was for a second. I was like, why is Ryan living with MM? This is so weird.
yeah. Um, yeah, I also saw like they did shoot a scene from behind the scenes footage where you see Homelander kill Frenchie, and he like sticks his finger into his gut, I think, and just kind of slices across his stomach, killing him.
Mm,
And I saw some people annoyed at the fact that this was cut, and again, I don't really get this type of annoyance. It's like, why do you need to see every detail in order to understand it? Like, I prefer the way the final edit plays, actually, because if we saw Homelander kill Frenchie, then Homelander kind of gets the last laugh, right? But in the edit, the way it works, Frenchie's the one who wins. Like, he dies, but the last line of the interaction is like him smiling and just being like, I bet you've never danced a day in your life. And then the next time we see him, he's like with the person he loves saying goodbye. Like, I really need more people who discuss art to try to understand why editing exists.
Yes.
It's not just about conveying information in an order. It is about projecting emotion and leaving you with a specific feeling. Like, learn why different cuts exist, what a match is. Like, look into that a little bit more. Like, all of these choices are deliberate. They're made for a reason. And I think that's the reason this cut was made. It's a sad moment and a tragic moment, but ultimately a defiant moment. And if it was edited differently, it wouldn't have necessarily had that tone. So I don't know. I liked Frenchie's death.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was great.
And
I cried a little bit.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was really well done. My understanding of the comic apparently is that aside from Hughie and Annie, they all die. I think from what I've heard,
I thought that was it. Yeah.
Kimiko and Frenchie and Butcher obviously all die, and I'm kind of glad they don't go that route. Like, I don't see a reason why it would be effective for either or Kimiko to die. I think the deaths we got make the most sense. I also really enjoyed Butcher and Hughie's final sort of scene together at Vought Tower, because Hughie, like it harkens back to Butcher's brother, whose name I'm forgetting at this moment, but how he's always the one to bring him back from the edge, and the tragedy of it is that Hughie does bring him back. You can see Butcher's hand like moving away from the trigger for the virus, right? But it's too late because Hughie pulled the trigger already. And I really love that Butcher's last act was to lie to Hughie, saying he would never stop, because he knows that Hughie would never forgive himself if he killed Butcher for no reason. So he does like the kindest thing he's probably ever done for him, and like lets him live, thinking he did what he needed to do. I think it was very effective.
It's a very emotional ending, but also I think very pleasant in its own ways, and I think everything's wrapped up very well. Do you have any other thoughts on season 5?
I think one thing I will critique about it now, and I think it's become evident as we talked about it, I wish Annie had a bit more to do. She was not very much a part of our conversation because she really didn't get a hold. There was that great scene of her going home to her family, and her reconnecting with her dad. That was good stuff, but that felt very front loaded in the season, and I don't know. Maybe on a rewatch eventually I'll feel differently, but I think she could have gotten a bit more material. I think her best stuff was in the first 2 or 3 episodes. But, good show. I like The Boys. I recommend The Boys front to back. I recommend Gen V. I guess before we move on to the next section, or I guess, do you have final thoughts before I ask this question?
No, I would echo everything you just said. Love The Boys. I think everyone should watch it.
The spin-off material. I forget what else they have going on, but I know they have a prequel show, which we've seen a trailer for, called Vought Rising, which will star Jensen Ackles and Aya Cash reprising their roles as Soldier Boy and Stormfront / Clara Vought at this era. Do you have any predictions for that? Are you excited about it? Are you going to watch it? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it. I don't really have a lot of predictions for it. I feel like it's going to be I feel like it'll be very similar to the boys in a lot of ways, just in terms of like the realism of just like, oh yeah, all the people on that team or all the soups are going to be like ultra mega racist, terrible people, maybe except for like a handful, but you know, that's just kind of my initial predictions. What about you?
Yeah, same. I'm most excited for it being a period piece. I think that'll be fun. I'm excited to see who the non-superhero characters are, and also if any of the superheroes are good. I scratch my head at the scoffing at the premise of the show about like, wow, like they're gonna make a show about the Nazi and the other racist as the main characters and the good guys. Why would I watch that? I'm like, they're not the good guys, man. They're like what are you doing? Even if they're the main
characters, the victims.
Yeah, like even if they are the main characters, that doesn't mean they're the good guys. I get very annoyed by this manner of criticism, as you can probably tell. But it's like think a little bit, use your brain, the smallest amount. But I'm interested. I enjoyed both of their performances when they were in the show. I'll be interested to see Clara Vaught when she's not like pretending to be like a 2010s girly pop, you know. That'll be interesting to see because she'll probably be like an entirely different character.
It'll be interesting to see like how the crossover happens with like the Nazis and where things kind of go. Like maybe she was picked up in Operation Paperclip or something, or I don't know.
Well, I think Vought was. I think, or not.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because Vought was a Nazi scientist. Friedrich Vought, I think, is his name in the show. Yeah, I think they also have another spinoff called The Boys Mexico. I don't know anything about that. It exists, I think. But
I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it.
Good show.
The Boys.
You want to move on to other stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about some other stuff. Things we've been watching, reading, exploring, playing. Dylan, what have you been up to since our last episode?
All right. Well, I'm continuing to read The Name of the Wind. I'm a little over. Oh, y'all can see my dog flipped in the back.
Shadow,
the
dog.
Yeah, continuing to read that. I'm about halfway through. I really, really like it. It's a good book.
Nice.
I also this weekend saw Backrooms, which I thought was really cool. The atmosphere is excellent. I have some not problems, but like wanted more from the narrative. Maybe I'll feel differently when I rewatch it eventually, but once you like get into the Backrooms area, it's so well shot and unsettling, and the set design is so just weird. It's very well done, and it's directed by the same guy who made YouTube shorts about it, because the Backrooms is like it's like a creepypasta. It started on 4chan forums as a result of a photo that was found of a place in Wisconsin. It's where it all comes from. And then this guy made Blender animation videos that he posted on YouTube, and now it's a movie, and it was really good. So
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and it might be our next episode. We'll figure that out. But I also watched Ghost in the Shell, the anime film from the 90s. Very interesting. I liked it. It was kind of... Yeah, I need to watch it again. I think I was like too stoned to fully process it all. but
yeah,
it was kind of seen it. It was kind of like about this like synergy of synthetic life and organic life and life beyond that, and it was different than what I expected it to be. I really thought it was going to be something entirely different, but I liked it. The animation was really cool. There's a really long sequence in the middle where it's just this somber montage of the city and the everyday life there, and it's just music playing over life in this city, and it was like
cool.
That was my favorite part of the movie, just watching that. The animation was beautiful, and it just really let you sink into this world. I think there are other films too. I'm interested to look more into the series and learn more about it because I don't know a ton about it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I finished For All Mankind season 5. Season finale happened. Solid finale. There's one season left. Interested to see how the show closes things out because like most of the original characters at this point are dead. So it's
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how they like bring it full circle or if they even try to do that. So we'll see in a couple years, I guess. And then lastly, I have started watching Spider Noir, the Amazon Prime series of Nicolas Cage playing Private Detective Ben Reilly, who is also the Spider. It is I really like it, man. It's so neat. You can watch it in black and white or color. I'm watching it in black and white because I think that's the intended way to watch it, and it's genre appropriate. It feels like a detective noir movie. It is set in 1930s New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's shot in a lot of ways like a noir movie. It feels like they're on sets like a noir movie. Nicolas Cage is having the fucking time of his life hamming up that type of performance.
I love it.
You also have Brendan Gleeson in there as this mobster villain, and you have a couple other like classic Spider-Man villains, like the Sandman is a recurring character,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like a low-level mobster, and it's kind of like horror adjacent what's happening to it because sometimes he just like breaks out into the sand, and it's happening more and more and more comprehensively over the course of the series. But you also have like Ben Reilly has this journalist friend who's trying to get back into the good graces of his old paper, so he's trying to find new material, and it's just really fun. It's
cool.
It's like
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, you should. It's mostly a detective mystery story, but sometimes he has to be Spider-Man too, and it's like I like it. But what about you? What have you been up to?
Been mainly continuing on with Mad Men. We are finally crossing into season 6 territory, so we're getting closer and closer to the end. We just have 2 more seasons to go, and Mad Men is such an excellent show, man. It is so simple in so many ways because it's like, oh, it's just this show about these guys that go to work and they just sell advertising and that's it. And it's simple enough, but like the characters are so complex and nuanced, and there's just a lot happening underneath the surface. And yeah, I love that show. It's up there with like The Wire and Breaking Bad for me in terms of like quality. Like it's so consistently good, so consistently interesting. Yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about it, even when it breaks your heart. And otherwise, I started watching that Darth Maul Shadow Lord show on Disney Plus, and it's good so far. It's okay. I'm only like 2 episodes in, and I mean, I'm like that's the kind of show that you watch for mainly the action rather than the story. I would say the animation is really cool. Like I like all the animation and stuff. The style is beautiful. I think just for me, like the reason why I'm not like consuming it at like a super rapid pace and binging it is I feel like I've got a little bit of Star Wars fatigue at this point. And I was thinking about this more recently of like what they should really do with Star Wars is just like take a hiatus, stop making content for like 3 years at least, and then just let the anticipation build, and then people will be back on the Star Wars train and will love it and will consume even more. But they're not going to do that. They're just not going to do that because of capitalism. But I just feel like I've seen so many Star Wars stories at this point that I'm like, I'm 2 episodes in and I know exactly how the rest of this 8 episode series is going to go. Like I can just see it. Like, even if I've had some spoilers, I'm like, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think like I I have a thesis that I'm working on about like, because both Marvel and Star Wars, I think, have suffered in the last, I don't know, since 2019, since the sequel trilogy ended and Endgame came out. I think, and like Endgame, I liked a lot. Rise of Skywalker, I did not like, as you know, and as our viewers know. But I think like they had pop culture in a fucking chokehold for years.
Oh, yeah.
And they lost it. And my theory is that they lost it because of Disney Plus. I think I think they were given directives to maximize the subscription value of Disney Plus to get new subscribers in, so they shifted content production to focus on Disney Plus series, and that watered down their flagship properties and also made newer entries, cinematic entries in those flagship properties, inaccessible to large parts of the general audience. Case in point, Mandalorian and Grogu. That film had like a 70% drop in box office from week 1 to week 2.
Fuck. That's not good.
Yeah, I think it lost to both Obsession and Backrooms at the box office. And it's like, that's bad. That's not good.
Yeah, that's not very good. Well, yeah, I think you're onto something there with Disney Plus and streaming. I think that did.
What even happens in Maul Shadow Lord? Like, what is it about? What does he do?
He is right now trying to set up his Shadow Gang thing.
The Crimson Dawn, or
Crimson Dawn. I guess Crimson Dawn or whatever it is. Like, he's trying to set it up on this one world that doesn't really have a lot of Imperial control yet, and he's like trying to push the other gangs on the world into like conflicts with each other, so he can kind of come up in the power vacuum. Okay. That's what's happening so far, and there's like 2 Jedi characters that are there as well, and that's as far as I am. But I'm like, I know what's going to happen next is the Empire is going to come in to the planet, and the Inquisitors are going to come after you, and you're going to have to team with the Jedi to fight the Inquisitors off, and then eventually Darth Vader will show up to track you down, and then I don't know how it ends, but I'm like, that's what's going to happen. I could already tell.
And then he's gonna go turn his lightsaber on in the hologram in the Solo movie.
Yep, exactly.
So he's gonna. So that you know it's him, if you weren't sure before.
Exactly.
Is Emilia Clarke's character from Solo in it? The Kira
I have
character?
no idea.
Oh, I like that character.
I have no idea yet.
We'll see.
She might show up at some point, but yeah, I'm only 2 episodes in, and I'm like, I'll finish it eventually.
You didn't go see Mandalorian and Grogu?
No, I did not. No. Eventually, I'll see that one too.
I mean, if you want to see it in theaters, you should probably go like in the next couple days. I don't think it's gonna like.
Yeah, they're gonna pull it early.
They're gonna pull it early. I mean, yeah. I just think like with Star Wars, like we could have lived in a world where we had the hunt for Kylo Ren or whatever, written and directed by Steven Soderbergh, who made Ocean's 11, and a movie about a new trilogy about Rey's new Jedi Order, written by Damon Lindelof, that he described as being like sort of a riff on the Christian Protestant Reformation. I'm like,
wow, we
could have had that, and we got the
we got the Obi-Wan show. We got the Acolyte.
I like the Acolyte.
No, I like the Acolyte too. Yeah. Just not as much as I like.
I was shitting on Mandalorian and Grogu specifically.
Yeah.
We got instead of getting like movies that had like interesting story hooks that pull from real history and could be like interesting thematic explorations of the universe, we get the action figure movie with the masked man and the puppet, the very cute puppet. I love the puppet, but it's not enough.
I agree. Not enough to pull me in.
All right.
Well,
it's late.
I think that's probably a good place to call it on this episode. But thank you everybody who stuck around and listened. We really do appreciate everybody who joins in on these episodes. We love talking about entertainment, media, pop culture, and we hope you enjoy listening to it. We'll be back in hopefully 2 weeks with another episode. We may be talking about the back rooms or something else, but until then, Dylan, where can people find you online?
On Instagram at DylanD1026, on Twitter at D-Day Movies, on YouTube at D-Day Movies, and you can find me and Niles both here at Play Pause Rewind, as well as our second channel, Play Pause Rewind Videos. I will link our seasons 3 and 4 episodes of The Boys in the description. All of my info and Niles is in the description, but Niles, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at Niles Got No Styles.
All right. Thank you all very much. Stay safe out there. We'll see you next time. Have a good one. Goodbye.
Bye.